Good morning. It's a lovely, lovely day yet again here in Gettysburg. It's 63 degrees in honor of the year 1863. Good morning, Marie. And we're heading into town, but of course we're going to do our traditional morning loop around the battlefield, brought to you by patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg. Head over there, become a first lieutenant, get behind the scenes live streams like never before. We did 2 yesterday with Kevin Bryant, licensed battlefield guide. They weren't Ask Guides though, they were Patreon episodes. And they were about Frederick Douglass's visit to Gettysburg in 1869. And the other one was about, I forget the name of it. But it was actually a little bit of a battle that Longstreet was involved in during Reconstruction in New Orleans in 1874. God damn it, the name is, I've never heard of it before, and of course the name is escaping me right now. But it was really interesting. There's just so much. I remember, I said this during the show. I remember when I started this, and I started actually when it was, and I was talking to somebody. Oh, you got a podcast? Blah 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 blah. He goes, what do you do? What do you do for work when you're not doing the podcast? I'm like, this is my work. That's why I make my living. And they're like, really? Yeah. And they're like, I mean, how long can you make a living talking about a 3-day battle? And I said, well, to the unimaginative, not long. To a genius, it is an endless, bottomless font of stories to tell. You just have to know how to tell them and relate them to the subject at hand. And it really is fascinating. Just all of the stories that just, from studying this one battle, all the stories that spin off from it. And I mean, you could probably do that with any battle because these guys were of many battles. This was their first or only. Well, some might have been their first, but it's not their only battle. And people have lives and they go off and do other things, and so But it was interesting. That'll be out in 2024, unless you're, of course, a first lieutenant. It's out right now. You can go watch the video of it. And just so you know, the videos are you're kind of like a fly on the wall. You're watching it being made. So like mess ups, if we goof. Often when I'm reading people's emails during Ask a Guide, I'll have to do a couple of takes of them because, and with all due respect, not everybody's the best at writing. Okay, get a question that's no punctuation, no capitalization, and I got to figure out what you mean. Either it's so verbose or it's so grammatically. I get hung up on why would you say were when it should be was, and it just it sticks in my craw, and I can't finish reading without stumbling because I'm hung up on how do you not know it's was instead of were, or whatever the case may be. Meanwhile, I'm not perfect by any means, but anyway, so you get to see the mess ups there, and also if we'll take a break, sometimes I drink a lot of water and coffee, and I'm like, I don't need to go to the bathroom before we start, and the next thing I know, we're not even halfway through, and I have to pee like a racehorse, and then I have to stop, and we have to go back and start again. Not start again, but then pick up from where we left off. And usually where we leave off for a pee break is not how you say a natural stopping point, so that then it's us trying to remember where we left off and how to get back on track. So you get to see and hear the things that are edited out for the general public. And you might be surprised, though, when you do watch them, that very little editing needs to be done. Mainly because I'm lazy. And as Zach says, don't forget to hit the like button here, ladies and gentlemen. We got 20 people watching, only 5 likes. Maybe I'm going to have to sing another song. Let me think. What song? I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter. Let's try that one. I'm going to sit right down and write myself a letter and make believe it came from you. And the way so sweet. They're gonna knock me off of my feet. A lot of kisses at the bottom. I'll be glad I got 'em. I'm gonna smile and say, I hope you're feeling better. All right, enough of that. All right, let's get those likes up more. It's so funny. Every time we start talking about likes, we lose like 6 people. I know, it's annoying. I can't stand watching YouTube videos and they waste all that time with like and subscribe. But anyway, go to patreon.com/addressing Gettysburg, become a first lieutenant, and be ahead of the curve. Also, super likes. All right, so we're going to turn on Howard Avenue. We're on Carlisle Street, or the Carlisle Road. It's Carlisle Street once you get into town. Howard Avenue, as you can see, is a two-way road because there's a college kid there that was coming the opposite way. So some of these roads are one way, some are two. Make sure you pay attention to signs. Oh wow, look at that. See, it was the idea of the singing is to get you to like really quick so that we could stop the singing. It's underhanded, I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, we've got a dog walker, a jogger, and a car. Who goes first, ladies and gentlemen? Obviously, I don't know, actually, but you just go until you got room to go, I guess. Then close with love the way you do. You know, I don't know if it's funny or sad or good that I can recite the lyrics to maybe 5 songs from beginning to end that came out in my lifetime. But I know a ton from before when I was born, before my birth, by heart. Maybe it's just because it's the better music. I mean, can we just agree on that? Now, October is going to be a light month, by the way. Whoops. For any live streams of recordings, at least until I get my house packed and moved. I'm in the process of doing it throughout the month because I'm trying to juggle, you know, the work schedule. Also, you know, Cindy moved her stuff over first. I was like, why don't we get your stuff squared away so that it's not just a pile of stuff and we don't know where to start and everything. It'll be easier if we get you squared first and then I'll bring my stuff in. So that's the plan. We are on Confederate Avenue by the Peace Light. Yeah, it Ghost, you're right. It's definitely from what my parents listened to. I mean, I have some of the earliest memories I have are sitting with my dad in the rec room at the house, and he would put on this mixtape that he had of just all the songs. So his best friend was a DJ, not like a wedding DJ, but like a radio DJ, and he had put together a tape of all the songs they loved from the acts that they loved when they were kids, and it was everything from Martha and the Vandellas to Derek and the Dominoes, and other stuff like Joe Hinton, Funny How Time Slips Away. What were some other ones? I really liked that one. God, I don't know. There were a lot in there, but it definitely shaped my taste as I grew older. And then I do remember, and it's funny because my dad wasn't a musician, or isn't a musician. Isn't, still isn't, whatever. And, but he had a great appreciation of good music, what I would call good music, obviously, because he taught it to me. And, he would point out to me what he liked about the song, like listen to the drums here, or listen to the bass here. And so I learned the difference between drums, bass, guitar, piano, organ. I remember at the end of Layla, when Duane Allman's slide guitar does a little like bird chirp, the last note is just like a tweet tweet. He loved that, and he'd be like, "Let's wait, tweet tweet," and he'd be like, "Ah," and I find myself doing that now, and nobody appreciates it like I do. But yeah, it was so now when I listen to things, I break it apart like that. I kind of deconstruct it, and it's all because of him. And he had no idea that's what he was doing, I'm sure, and I'm sure that wasn't his intention either. I don't even think he's aware that that's what he does. But yeah, I got that from him. So you're absolutely right. Like it's the music your parents listen to. But I know plenty of people who reject what their parents listen to. It's probably because they hate their parents. I don't hate my parents. So I never felt that need. Even in my rebellious stage, I was still like only like quasi-rebellious. Matt, do this. No, come on, do it. Okay, fine. And yeah, it's because I don't hate my parents. And I never felt the need to listen to really angry music because I just wasn't angry. Nobody hurt me. I didn't have this pent-up anger and aggression that I wanted to take out on the world. I felt certainly misunderstood, but who doesn't? Who doesn't? But I didn't internalize that anger and resentment. We're at the Lutheran Seminary, or the Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center, I should say. I see a group of people gathered there. I don't know who they are. They look military. Layla was Eric Clapton, but he was in a band called Derek and the Dominoes at the time, Barbara. He didn't like his fame. And of course, but he loved playing music, and it was his job, and he had to support his heroin habit. So he went and put the little band together with some musicians that he liked playing with. And so he didn't overshine them, and it didn't become all about him. They called it Derek and the Dominoes. But of course, everybody knew it was Eric Clapton. They didn't hide it. They just didn't want to call attention to it. So yeah, Derek and the Dominoes, and it is Eric Clapton wrote it about George Harrison's wife, Pattie Boyd Harrison, who he was in love with, and George Harrison was his best friend, and it was kind of like the whole album is mainly songs about like unrequited love, and it's a good album. It is a good album. But anyway, he eventually married Pattie, and then George and him called each other husbands-in-law. And you might have heard me steal that joke from them on last week's show with Bo when he was talking about how Bruce and he are husbands-in-law, ex-husbands-in-law now. All right, so they're doing some paving here on West Confederate, as we can see. So we're going to ease on by. Very exciting. So you see they do half the road. I wonder why they're not doing this. Oh, I bet you they're doing this stretch during the day so as not to disturb the residents here at night. I'll bet you that's why. Or maybe they're going to do it all during the day. I don't know. Good morning, Dr. James. Oh, Barbara, Duane Allman was in Derek and the Dominoes. So he plays the slide guitar on Layla. The slide guitar is the one that sounds like it's kind of like wee, 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 as opposed to dee, 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 dee. It's more of a sliding sound. Yeah, Duane Allman and Eric Clapton decided to... Now, Derek and the Dominoes didn't tour with Duane Allman. He was still in the Allman Brothers band, but he played on the album. No, maybe they're going to do this whole thing. It's all prepped. Lawrence Welk. So you know what's funny about Lawrence Welk? There's an Instagram channel I follow. I forget what it's called, like retro trash TV or Instagram. I forget what it's called, but it plays all these old clips from the old variety shows, which I love those variety shows. They're so horribly cheesy, but like the only one I think that was actually really good was like the Dean Martin show. Although Carol Burnett was good too. But anyway, the Lawrence Welk show. So there was a clip from the Lawrence Welk show that I watched, and I was just like, man, this is so like Wonder Bread. But then I remember being at my grandparents' house and watching Lawrence Welk and being like, man, this is so Wonder Bread. Like, it was awful. But then I realized I always think about things, and watching old television is a great way to put a lot of things in perspective for today. And here's what I mean. So the Lawrence Welk show, you know, what is that? Like, what's polka music? Is that it's like German, Scandinavian type stuff, right? That, you know, Rose Nyland, St. Olaf type of crowd, right? And now I don't know if there was a huge influx of people from that area, but my point is that, you know, television reflected society, and so you see a lot of that stuff. There was a big show, popular show, and then Hee Haw, and what was the other one? There was another one. Wasn't there another? There were a couple, like the Mandrell sisters had their show. You know, you would never see, you don't see, well, now you have your own channel for country music. That's the problem. Everything is segregated now. But I don't know. It just put things in perspective for me because, like, you know, you think of the Civil War, for example, and the Irish, and everybody hated the Irish, and the Irish had a hard time, and, you know, all this stuff. But, you know, a lot of the music is Irish. The Irish Brigade is this famed brigade and everything like that. And the trouble they get, and the fear, I guess, that it causes. And that's why I think it's important that we study history, because it helps you put day in perspective. Not necessarily because you can draw, you know, because you know, well, this happened first, then that, and this led to that, and this, that, and here we are. But to look at, you know, just the way immigrants were treated in the 1860s. People make it about a white versus non-white thing today. But if you really look at the tradition of how Americans treat immigrants, I mean, the Irish were white people, and they were hated because they were new. Germans, they didn't get a pretty good shake either. So it makes everything, for me, it makes everything that's going on now less exciting and less interesting to talk about, because it's just human beings being human beings yet again. It's just a new crop of them. None of us were alive back then, but we're alive now, and people are doing the same thing that people always did. I'm not excusing it. It would be nice if everybody could be nice to each other, but let's be real. I mean, we're not Pollyanna here, ladies and gentlemen. We're realists. And so I don't know why the Lawrence Welk show just made me think of that, but it did. It just got me thinking. A show like Lawrence Welk today would just never work. People were like, what the hell is this crap? The hairdos. Were those how did women get their hair so high back then? Did they put like a pillow underneath it and then just lay the hair over it? Like how did they do that? What do they call those? Bouffants? Hoofa. And the accordion is the most annoying instrument ever invented. I'm just putting that out there. Although I do enjoy watching people play it. Beehives, that's it. What was a bouffant? Westianzer says it's amazing to watch all the old TV cigarette commercials. Yes, the cigarette commercials. And some of the, number one recommended to soothe a sore throat. What? Where did that come from? If you watch old Carson clips, everybody just sits down and casually lights a cigarette and sits there talking and smoking, and it's just a different world. It looked like a much more fun world and a much more interesting world, and people seemed to be happier, or at least they had a better humor about themselves. I don't know. This is just another sign of me getting old. I don't understand this new crop of comedians that never actually tell a joke, yet somehow there's a laugh track. Like, there's no punchline to their jokes. There's no humor at all. It's just philosophizing and political grandstanding. And who wants to go to a comedy show to hear that shit? That's what I don't understand. I'm getting old. I don't get it. Hair was poufy and over the ears. Poofy and over the ears. For the bouffant, not as high. Okay. So it was like a hair helmet? Is that... And all the sexual innuendo on Carson, plus they flaunted... Oh my God, yeah. That's the thing, is... when you couldn't say things as explicitly as we can today, you had to be clever. You had to be funny. And that's why this because of comedians and otherwise, because they're just not smart. Like, they just don't know how to be clever. Ghost says SPL Nino. Oh, the leaves. Somebody asking about the leaves. Leaf color is very muted this year. What's up with that? Yeah, it's not really cold yet. Last year, it was the same thing. They took a long time to really turn, and then they turned on like a Monday, and by Saturday, they were all gone. Like, the whole autumn season happened in a week. Like, all the visible changes that you see, and it was nice if you were here for that week, but that leafer season there, I don't mind it yet. I mean, I kind of like these colors because they're kind of like a golden greenish. They're not exactly full summer green. They're not exactly fall. They're turning. Sorry about all the interruptions today. It's really on the rainy days, we never have these interruptions. Back on and go, all right, that wasn't bad. Like, Hall & Oates were really good. They were good. Blue-Eyed Soul, I like that stuff. But like, for the most part, it was pretty crappy. Again, I was spoiled with Motown and the Eagles and the Beatles and the Doors and Jefferson blank, depending on which era you're talking about. Airplane, Starship, Jefferson City, whatever the hell they call themselves. Sinatra. You hear that shit first. It's very hard to get into Kajagoogoo or Duran Duran. But yeah, the hair in the 80s, 70s and 80s, man, that was some pretty tough times for hairstyles and clothing. And the 90s were just depressing. That was my generation. The whole grunge thing, and it's just, ugh. Now I like that music a lot. At the time, I was like, what are you all so depressed about? You're 16. I didn't understand. I just didn't get it. And Weird Al would have an issue with your views on the accordion. Well, see, but no, I don't think he would, because Weird Al made the accordion palatable for a mass audience, where Lawrence Welk, I don't think, ever could. As popular as he was, I don't think. I'm trying to think. When I went through my mother's record collection, I don't believe there was any Lawrence Welk there. So, but Weird Al, he's using the accordion, ironically. Like, he's using it in rock songs and stuff. Like, that's cool. He's saying, I'm a nerd, I play the accordion, and but I'm going to put it in a rock. I guess what I'm saying is, accordion played seriously is annoying. Accordion played comically is brilliant. But all I can think about with the accordion is the chicken, which I freaking hate. Laughing, that's another good show. Goldie Hawn. Let's take a moment to remember those who on this day fought in the Battle of Mogadishu. The sun is in my eyes now. Lifting an early one to my buddies, Chris, Pete, John, who were in the thick of it. Mogadishu. That was the Black Hawk Down thing, wasn't it? I remember I saw that movie, I got so pissed off. Those poor guys. Barbara says, oh my God, I know exactly what you're going for here. This classic Carson with Zsa Zsa Gabor. If you get that damn cat off your lap. There is nobody better than Johnny Carson. I don't care what anybody says. These guys today could not, if you combined all their talent, you wouldn't even come close to what he had in his pinky nail. Oh my God. And he was so quick that there's a few, okay, so there's a couple of really classic Carson moments. There's that one. There's, I don't know if it's classic, but it was cute when what was his name? The kid from Blossom, the boy, Joey Lawrence. When he was a little boy, he was like 7 years old, and Johnny asked him if he'd ever seen his show, and he says, yes, when I'm up late at night vomiting. That was good. And then also when George Gobel is on, and Dean Martin surprises everybody, comes out, barges on, like Cameron does. Although Cameron is no Dean Martin. And Dean Martin is no Cameron. Anyway, Dean comes out, and he's sitting there, and George is telling a story, and he's holding his drink in his right hand, and Dean is to his right, and a cigarette, and every time George looks away, Dean flicks up. And the whole audience is cracking up, but George thinks that they're laughing, they're with him with the story he's telling, and they're laughing with him on that. I believe a lot of that stuff was set up. Like, they knew they were going to do this stuff. They knew these routines. And the reason I know that, or I think that, is because, have you listened to any of the Live at the Sands, or any of the Rat Pack shows? They all did this. They did the same routine, but they made it look like it was spur of the moment, And I think the routines came out of improvisation, but eventually they're like, all right, that was good, let's do that again. And then they would just do it again, being that they were these professionals. They'd be able to make it look like it was off the cuff, but it really wasn't. And so I think, you know what you're going to do. And, oh God, that was funny. And then what was the other one? Oh, when the Sis Boom Ba with Karnak. And like, television doesn't take any chances today. They don't have any chances for classic moments. It's a shame. A real shame. He was my, I wouldn't say idol, but I loved the Doors. I loved the Doors I learned to play the drum. Well, no, I learned to play the drums because I always wanted to play the drums. But I learned to play set by playing along with the Doors. And then we had a piano in the house, and I used to doodle on the piano. Or is it noodle? I would noodle on the piano. And then when I got into the Doors, I really wanted to learn how to play piano because I just was mesmerized by the organ. And then Jim Morrison's voice on top of that. I mean, really just such a unique band. No other band sounds like them before or since. Like, they stand alone. There's other bands that have used organs, but never in the way they did. They didn't use the organs that Ray Manzarek used, the Vox Continental and the Gibson 103, I think it is. I forget what the Gibson was called, but whatever, you don't care about that. Like, the Vox was very popular in the mid-'60s, late 60s. The Animals used it, the Beatles used it, everybody used the Vox. It has that 60s organ sound that everybody calls the 60s organ sound. The Gibson, Kalamazoo, that was Kalamazoo. That's what, when they would play that live, he would take that out live because the Continental wasn't good for traveling for some reason. It often broke, and it was hard to find someone, in Sheboygan who knew how to repair them. So the Gibson was a sturdier one. So he brought that along on the tours, and I used it in the studio too. But a lot of those Doors songs that have more of a circus organ kind of sound, that's the Kalamazoo. The one that's a more shrieking, piercing organ sound, that's the Vox Continental. Anyway, Why the hell was I talking about that? Oh, yeah, because no other band was like them. And I don't know. I love the Doors. And then they didn't have a bass player, which they did in the studio for the albums. But live, they didn't have a bass player. And so when you listen to their live stuff, the way the keyboard bass sounds, it was a keyboard that Fender, the guitar company, made. They also made the Rhodes piano, which is the electric piano that everybody and their mother uses and has used since it was invented. Like Riders on the Storm, that's that piano there, that's a Rhodes. And so Fender took like the last 2 or 2.5 octaves, the bottom 2 octaves of the Fender Rhodes, and just cut it off and made a small little portable keyboard bass. And so he would sit that on top of the organ and he would play the bass lines there. Very unique band, great sound. Although here's the thing, I love Jim Morrison's voice, but you know, when you're a teenager, his lyrics, his poems, his whatever, you're like, whoa, man. Because you're a teenager, you don't know what the hell any of that stuff means. But as your vocabulary grows, as you become older and you read what he's saying, you realize that all he's doing is either describing an acid trip or just stringing together big words that he learned. I don't know if he was as highly intelligent as people say he was. I think he was intelligent enough to make people think he was intelligent, but I don't really, I look at his words, I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Now you can say, well, maybe you're not intelligent. Well, that's very true. It's very true. I could not be intelligent, but I'm also not a dummy. So if a guy who's in between intelligent and a dummy can't even figure it out, then maybe it's really not that great stuff. I don't know. This coming from the guy who thought Shakespeare's name was Shakespeare until he was 42. So, you know. Through My Lens says, looks like a beautiful day on the battlefield. I guess it's time to get caught up and head over there. Oh, good morning, Matt and chat. Good morning. Good morning. Ty Webb says, all I can think of now is the Family Guy sketch where Lois used to make a cast of celebrities junk, and she's going to Hall. She's doing with Hall, but and then lies about coming back later for Oates. Yeah, right. Nobody cared about Oates. Baba Booey, if you will. All right, what are we doing here? You passed out? Okay, now you're going. Right. Now I was going to make a move, and you go. Oh, it's a government plate. I'll let them do what they want to do. Gonna sit right down and write myself a long, long letter. Make believe it came from you. Farrah says, can you say hi for Iraq? Hi, Iraq. SP, former governor of Texas, Ann Richards, was an ardent Democrat, but she said of herself, I have Republican hair. That's right, she did. She had that big hair. Paul worked with Pete, who was in Chalk 4. They didn't really portray him too much, as he was one who was on the M60 and took a round in the shoulder and fought most of the battle with one arm and his pistol. Ugh. Marie says, this may be controversial, but I can't stand the Doors. It's not controversial, Marie. A lot of people say that. Typically people who have received some kind of massive head trauma, like a kick in the head by a mule or a head first plunge down a well. Also people who don't know the alphabet. But there are also some normal people who just can't stand the Doors. I hear you. I get it. I don't know what it is you can't stand. I can't see it myself. But I get it. I know that people, you know, no controversy there. All right, now how do I block her? Ghost of Sickles Leg says, Dogface, when men were men and fought for their brothers, today's military is being destroyed via social engineering. And you're seeing those who want to serve not enlisting. We have a huge problem now. No, we don't have a huge problem now. We have a huge problem when the war begins. Ty says, did you ever see the clip where Carson interrupts Don Rickles? Oh my God, yes. That's another one because he broke a cigarette box. Rickles ends by saying, Johnny Carson, everybody. And Carson flips out. He goes, they know who I am. You don't need... Yeah. Yes, that was great. There was, oh God, that was just such a good show with him. Ghost says, Marie, I myself love the Doors. You can go to hell. Wow, Ghost, you don't need to talk to her that way. Let's all be civil here. They grant me privacy and a way to lock my house. But okay, be controversial. I like my Doors. Oh, he's being cute there, ladies and gentlemen. He's being cute. SP, my brother couldn't stop listening to Cream. Love Cream. When I was in high school, we had a band. It was me on keyboards and vocals, believe it or not. I actually used to be able to sing, but I've lost it. And my friends Jay and Jason, they're both named Jason, one on guitar, one on drums. We forced Jay to play drums. He was really a guitarist, but we didn't have a drummer. So we're like, I have a set, I'm playing keyboards, so you're playing drums. And so we did. And we were really into Cream at the time. And so all we did were Cream covers. And then we would mix them in with originals that we wrote. And, but like the Doors, and this wasn't to be like the Doors, it was because we also couldn't find a bass player. The only drummer and bass player we knew were in a band, and they were more like Rush type crap. And so we were not into that. We were more into the acid rock of the late 60s. The blues-based stuff, not the whatever the hell Rush is based stuff. And yeah, so we were like, okay, well, I guess we got to make do. So I would split my keyboard with a bass sound on the left side and then the organ on the right. Sounded just like the freaking Doors. Except not as good. And we called ourselves Money and Cigarettes after an Eric Clapton album that I think only had one hit off of it. But yeah, that was my first band, Money and Cigarettes. Our best show, and I'm not even joking, was playing for a group of deaf people. We called it the Deaf Comedy Jam. And one of our friends, her parents were deaf. And they were part of some organization, I forget what it was called. But they were having a little get-together, like at a banquet hall, you know? And so she comes up to me in the hallway. She's like, hey, would your band play for my parents, dinner or whatever? And I was like, yeah, sure. Where is it? What is it? She's like, well, it's a fundraiser or something for deaf people. And I look at her and I'm like, okay. She's like, they're deaf. And I'm like, right, I got that. And then she's like, well, so would you come and play? And I go, would they be able to hear us? Like, why are we playing for deaf people? And she's like, if you turn the music up loud enough, or you turn your amps up loud enough, they'll be able to feel it. And they can dance to that. And I was like, oh, okay. So we went, and because nobody could hear us, we had no inhibitions. And so we played the best show we ever played with no witnesses, no ear witnesses, just eyewitnesses. And at the end of the first song, we didn't know what the hell to make of it because they all raised their hands and started like shaking their hands. And we didn't realize that that was how they applaud, because why would you applaud like that when no one can hear it? So that was an interesting night. And of course, we lost the tape. Well, we didn't lose the tape. We had the tape. But because we recorded all of our shows. Well, my friend, we were listening to it in the car on the way home. And it was an old car, like a 1980 something or other. And so the tape deck was old, and it had this habit of eating tapes once in a while. And sure enough, it ate our tape. If the Doors were any good, nobody would know Virginia Wade. Oh, there you go, Tom, I got you. Okay, here we go. Spot on about Mr. Mojo. Overrated and underrated at the same time, he thinks. Good morning. Good morning, King John. Yeah, so here's what I think about Jim Morrison. Great voice. Fantastic voice. One of the best voices in rock and roll. He could get a really nice, clean baritone if he wanted to and sing Sinatra-esque. And he could also screech and howl like a demon. Just a great voice. Great stage presence. Good-looking guy, dressed a certain way, lurked around like a weirdo. Interesting guy to watch. Words? Stupid. They're stupid words. I'm sorry. Marie, I'm not going to block you. Come on. All right, Marie thinks it's too much keyboards. That's fair. It is definitely a keyboard-based band. Absolutely. Nobody played cowbell in the band. No, that wasn't a big popular instrument by that point. Paul says, Ghost, that's my retirement plan, to be a gringo in Mexico playing the cowbell in the resort's lobby band. That sounds fun, actually. SP, like the Children of a Lesser God. Like in Children of a Lesser God. I don't know what you're referring to there. Marie says, I always wanted to learn to play an instrument. Don't learn to play keyboards. God forbid, Marie. You might not be able to stand yourself. Ghost says, I can see Matt like Arnold Poindexter from Nerds movie playing the keyboards. Dogface, then I get to play the triangle then. Okay, there you go. So we got our own little band forming here. I got to talk to Colby and Rich Condon about forming a little band, because I need to have a hobby. I've made a living out of my hobby, and now I need to just have a hobby for the sake of a hobby. All right. Well, anyway, we are here at the wonderful Bantam Roasters. I'm going to go in and get a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go back to the house and do more packing. That was, by the way, if I may recommend, if this is in your grocery store, I recommend you get it. Beautiful Spindrift. It's water. This is lemon flavored. Excuse me, I shouldn't say lemon flavored. It is lemon. All the ingredients are, let me read the ingredients to you, ladies and gentlemen. Carbonated water, lemon juice. No sugar, no aspartame, no nothing. Just like squeezing a lemon in your water. And it's good. I love it. It's refreshing. Okay. Oh, SP. Okay, you refer to me playing for the deaf people, like children. I don't know that movie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've heard of it, but that clearly doesn't help me get the joke. I have to watch it now. All right, I'm gonna get going, guys. Have yourselves a great day. Hit the like button on your way out, and thank you very kindly for your support and everything, as always. I'll talk to you later.